Mechanisms that our guests have used to continue living their lives beyond such events. As a warning, this episode features graphic content regarding sexual abuse. If you feel that this will have a negative influence on your well-being, please prepare yourself adequately to listen or disengage now. Today, I'm speaking to an incredibly confident, optimistic, and humorous 21-year-old named Freya. Freya is currently placing her efforts into her studies with the aim of becoming a paramedic. As strikingly outgoing and self-assured as Freya presents today, it wasn't always that way. At the age of 17, Freya had been assaulted twice before and sadly fell victim to the crime for a third time in 2016. One evening, she accepted a friend request on Facebook from a male around the same age as her. After an amount of interaction, she went over to his house to hang out with him and one of his mates. The idea of there being an additional person present made her feel less vulnerable, as she was conscious of her previous experiences of assault. It wasn't long until things began to feel uneasy. The ramifications of what you're about to hear has meant that Freya experiences a range of trauma day in and day out of her life.
So I got dropped off by a male friend. We had picked up some pizza for dinner. I also had brought some weed along with me, which I guess is important to note that because of medications I'm on, I have quite adverse reactions to it and lose consciousness very quickly. So on arrival, it was pretty chilled, to put it simply. So I'll use the aliases Connor and William just for today's purpose, so those aren't their actual names. So Connor was the person whose friend request I had accepted on Facebook. I had never heard of William before, assumed he was a nice guy. We had some pizza, smoked a few cones. So I started feeling a bit groggy quite quickly. So I decided to have a shower. And there was no lock on the door. And in all honesty, I can't remember what had been said to make me feel uncomfortable. But something had been said. So I remember hanging a towel over the shower.
Just for a bit of privacy?
Yeah, just for some privacy. I was kind of thinking, I was on edge. I was thinking, what if they open the door? They're going to see me naked in the shower. So I had a shower really, really quickly. Thankfully, they didn't walk in, but that was enough to, make me a bit uncomfortable.
Unsettled.
Yeah, definitely unsettled. That's how I'd put it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've had a shower, and then what's happened next?
So that's where things get quite blurry for me. So the timeline's probably not the most accurate thing due to being in and out of consciousness. I remember being on the couch with them and a third guy turned up. Unfortunately, I never learnt his name until much later on. So that's pretty much the last thing I remember is that third person turning up. Next thing I remember after that is feeling someone hitting me on the head quite heavily. With quite a fair bit of force. I just remember being hit on the head. I kind of remember going, just kind of moaning and groaning, but, my consciousness was just not really there, to say the least, so didn't really do anything about it, just kind of let it happen. I guess a good way of explaining how I feel when I have weed is how people feel when they're absolutely smashed off their face from alcohol, like that really groggy, dizzy, nauseous feeling, like heavy muscles.
Awful. Awful. So what's happened then? So you've sort of come to and you've been assaulted physically. What do you remember next?
Next thing I remember is being on a bed. I have absolutely zero clue how I got there. I can only assume that I was dragged or carried. And the lights were on and I remember feeling pressure in my vagina and essentially the three boys took it in turn raping me. as mentioned before, I'd been assaulted twice before. So that recent time I'd been pinned down in a car in the middle of nowhere, screaming, kicking, trying to get someone to hear me. And obviously no one could. So I kind of felt the same sort of thing this time round.
Helplessness.
Yeah, helpless. I went, no one's going to hear me. No one's around. No one's going to do anything. Fought them off for a bit, and then, I just kind of gave in and just let it happen. I just lay there, closed my eyes, let it happen, essentially.
That's awful.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel like you can't even fight for your own life. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's horrible.
That feeling of defeat is pretty...
Invasion of your physical privacy.
Absolutely.
Get the fuck away.
You feel like you should be fighting them off, but you're also like, what's the point? Yeah, what's the point? There's 3 guys against 1 girl.
Yeah.
Let's be real, no one's going to be able to fight that many people off.
What happens next?
I woke up the next morning on the couch. So again, I've either been dragged or carried there. I woke up. It's very fuzzy that next day. Yeah. I was still in my pajamas from my shower, so I'd been redressed. And I walked to a bus stop, just quite a decent walk, and I had my sleepover bag, all of that. So I had planned on sleeping over at this person's house, but by no means did I have any intention to have sex. I just wanted to hang out with a potential friend. I frantically messaged friends. I think I even posted a status on Facebook saying, can someone please pick me up? Eventually, a friend picked me up. From the bus stop, I didn't explain what happened. It was relatively normal drive home.
Yeah. Okay, so then later on that day, you're still obviously in the state of processing what the fuck has just happened.
Yeah.
And you're safe at your own home, and then you receive a message from someone you know. Can you tell us what that entailed? Yeah,
I received a screenshot of essentially a penis in someone's mouth, and the caption with it was, "Is this you?" And I looked at it and I went, what the fuck? My earrings, there was no doubt it was mine. I had hundreds of piercings.
Yeah.
And then I exited that message, and I had about 10 more messages from people, saying, you slut, like just all those sort of really derogatory comments. So it turns out the whole rape had been recorded and it was posted to Facebook.
Technology these days, something's out there, it's out there forever, and we all know that. And that's like the worst example of that.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Did you share with anyone what had happened, or anyone close to you, like your parents?
No, I didn't tell anyone about it for years. I attempted suicide that night, which wasn't the first time. I had attempted suicide before. I have a very extensive history of mental health problems, lots of admissions to psychiatric facilities. So I was able to pretty much just say, oh yeah, my depression's just fucked up again. So I never actually told people why I had attempted to take my own life. So
poor parents, they must have been so worried.
Yeah.
And not knowing what was going on.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
For both of you.
Absolutely. And I just, like I said, I already had lots of mental health problems, but I just felt so much shame and embarrassment that this video had been posted. I mean, I hadn't even seen this video. I didn't know whether my whole naked body was shown. I just did not know. Yeah, I did not know what potentially thousands of people had seen.
Yeah, and that's no one else's right apart from your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's awful.
And I had no knowledge that it was being videoed. Well, I didn't even really have any knowledge that the whole experience happened in the first place.
You didn't share with your parents, the real causes of what was going on.
No.
How long after did you?
So this had occurred in 2016. very early on. In about 2018, I was at work with my mother and I received a very bizarre phone call. Basically said, "Hey, it's Connor. Remember that time we were hitting you and shit? Well, the police want to talk to you." I basically said, "Like, what? Like, what are you on about?" And they said, "Yeah, that time we were hitting you." And I said, "No, you raped me. Like, what are you talking about?" And he said, "Oh, the police have found like stuff on our laptops." So I contacted the police and said, I heard something about videos being found of me, and they got me to come into the police station.
And so you've sort of tried to push it aside as long as you could. This all coming back up now into your life, in your headspace, how did that make you feel, having to kind of go there again and unpack that, especially with police who aren't familiar people? It's pretty daunting.
Oh, I was just in, like, that phone call, I was just in so much shock because I had really pushed things back to the back of my head. And yeah, I was at work, I just broke down in tears. And, it was then that I told my mum, I said, "Look, this is what happened to me. I need to leave work early and go to the police." Yeah, I was at the police station for 6 hours where they told me that another girl had reported sexual abuse by Connor and William.
Yeah.
And so that's why they had seized their laptops and electronics, and they had found videos of me, as in multiple videos of me. So part of that statement involved watching these videos, which was so confronting because I had no recollection of just so much of it. There were videos of them whacking me on the head with their balls and just running off. They had covered my head with a towel, I suppose, in an attempt to not be able to identify me. But
completely degrading.
Yeah, I had, like I said, I had quite obvious jewellery, and there were self-harm scars on my leg that were very easily to be identified as mine.
Were there many other women that were involved in this incident in regards to them finding videos and stuff on their computers?
They found hundreds of videos of women, along with other videos of animal abuse.
So they're not very well people. That's not okay.
Yeah, unfortunately they weren't able to identify anyone else other than myself and the girl who had come forward initially.
Yeah. So you've gone and done your statement and begun the investigation process. I'm not here to bash police at all. I always wanted to be in the police force, but you do often hear of victims of these sorts of crimes sometimes receiving not the best reception of the police in terms of support and diligence and whatnot. How was your experience throughout this process?
So unfortunately, I didn't have the best experience with the whole process of going to court. It started off really well. The detectives were so invested in my case. They were just brilliant with communication and providing resources. Part of gathering the evidence was going through my Facebook, my social medias, etc. They actually found a message that I had sent the day after the assault to a close friend at the time saying, "I think I had sex with 3 people last night."
Yeah.
And essentially the detectives took that as, "Oh, this was consensual. Like, she's been lying to us the whole time." Whereas...
You're joking.
Yeah, and I felt like that too. I was like, wait, have I been lying this whole time? Like, did I give consent? And it really fucked around with my headspace. Because of that one message, the actual rape charges were dropped and they were charged with production and distribution of child pornography. The court date arrived. Connor was let off with a slap on the wrist, and William was also getting charged with arson. He got 12 months in jail, so not much at all. and they were both put on the sex offender list for life.
Yeah.
Which,
rightly so.
yeah.
I think I can say, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really understand what that meant at the time. But in hindsight, it essentially means they cannot leave the state or the country without getting permission, and they cannot be in close proximity to children, minors, so they can't go to parks, they can't walk past schools, hospitals, which I thought, yeah, that's pretty fucked. That's going to screw with their lives.
Debilitating to an extent, for sure.
Yeah, I was like, I can't imagine how much that would affect my life. But I found out recently that William had a child, and I thought, who's stopping him from being in the birthing suite? You know, who's stopping him from taking his child to daycare? There is absolutely no one supervising this, and I feel the only way would be if I said something, which I wouldn't. I just don't want to get into that, really.
The things you go through when you're feeling like you haven't had the right amount of justice for what you've been through and what you continue to go through. You know, I understand that train of thought for sure.
Yeah, occasionally I feel that anger where I go, oh, I should call up the police and be like, yeah, he's had a child, he's in the hospital. But I kind of thought, where's that going to get me? Is that going to make me feel better? Probably not. So after all the sentencing, I received an email from the lead detective that essentially said, you lied to the police, you wasted 12 months of our time, our resources. He said, I put so much energy into your case. I have had to take time off work now because I'm so traumatized.
Yeah. Joking.
Yeah.
So a result of the messages that they'd seen you messaging your friend saying, implying consent, even though quite obviously it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realise that was not the case.
Absolutely.
Wow, so that was their response to that.
Yeah, accused me of lying. They just completely dismissed everything. Yeah. Which...
That's bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, they had the videos in front of them. They had people making statements, friends making statements, and...
It's completely unprofessional above anything else too, yeah.
Like, if he thinks I'm a liar, that's cool. If he had to take time off work because my case traumatised him, that's cool.
Yeah,
but don't tell me that.
Welcome to your life now. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. How do you think I feel?
Yeah, wow.
But, yeah, you just don't send that in an email. I
defies belief, really.
Yeah, honestly, the way that impacted my mental health, being called a liar, after I'd put myself through all of that, made myself so vulnerable.
Oh, it's brave, man. It's like really brave to not just roll over and be like, that happened, now I'm going to be miserable forever. Like, to stand up for yourself and the other women that were involved and go through the court proceedings of something like that, to then just have that dumped on you. Really disappointing, heaps disappointing.
Yeah, and, I respect the police, I respect the legal system 100%. I think they do amazing things for the society, but unfortunately I just had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in regards to your response from the police, that's a really, like I said, really disappointing ending to that. How did you work through that? Was there any other interaction you've had with justice system beyond that? Any support or anything that has made you feel better or move through that experience?
Yeah, so because of previous mental health problems, I was already seen a psychiatrist. And she's just brilliant. She's really helped me. But she also suggested that I apply for victims' compensation, which I did.
Yeah.
I thought, I might get a couple hundred out of it. So that was quite a while ago. And a couple of months ago, I was going through my emails, saw an email from Victim Services, and I went, oh, shit, forgot about that. So I opened the email thinking, they've probably granted me a couple hundred. And I had actually been granted $10,000.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of went, what the fuck? I had to read that. I had scrolled through the email because it was quite long, and I'd scrolled right to the bit where it said 10,000. So I kind of went, okay, let's read this from the beginning. Like, surely this isn't right.
Back it up.
And I read through it properly, and it basically explained each section that meant I got money.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I had the extent of what had happened had been recognised. So someone from the legal system had basically gone, yeah, we acknowledge that this happened to you. We acknowledge the severity. We believe you.
Yeah, it felt understood.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even the money for me. I mean, sure, I have a new wardrobe
it'd
now.
It'd be unreal.
Yeah, I bought myself
no.
a new wardrobe, some new shoes, but I just started crying. I just bawled my eyes out because I just went, holy shit, someone believes me. Someone from the justice system went, yeah, this happened to you. This was serious.
We get it.
Yeah, and that was just absolute game changer for me. I just felt so much relief.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it really helped in terms of closure.
Moving past what you've experienced and going through legal proceedings, how have you found this to affect your relationships with others?
So it's not until early this year that I've really acknowledged how my relationships have been affected. And it really is the little things. So I started uni last year, drugs.
Yeah.
And although I'm not anti-drugs, a lot of my friends are people that smoke weed, and I really struggle being around that because when I, see or smell weed, I associate that with being unconscious on a bed with people pinning me down.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's really vivid too.
Yeah, and it's really tricky because it's such an innocent thing for people to be doing, but yeah, for me it's something I really struggle with, being around people doing that. So I tend to isolate myself and not go out as much. So that's been challenging being a uni student. I really struggle being around guys at times. So when it's just me and a friend, or I'm around a guy friend who's intoxicated, and it's nothing against them. It's completely nothing against them, but sometimes I'll feel uneasy.
Yeah.
I'll be like, wait, are my boobs showing? Okay, they're showing. Let's cover up. Let's do all that.
Yeah.
Just totally unreasonable. Like, who cares if my boobs are showing?
Oh, I couldn't care less.
Who cares?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's completely understandable.
Yeah, it really is the small things. And this one I have a bit of a laugh at. But, it's still serious, but to me it's a bit funny. So I've been on Tinder for 2 years now, and I need to get a life.
Oh my God.
And
mate, we've all been there.
And I've had my fair share of matches.
Yeah.
But I only just came to the realisation that I've met up with 2 people that whole time. I've spoken to so many. They've been like, yeah, let's catch up, let's get together. But I'm like, nah.
Right, so that's the point, you disengage.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we'll go out for lunch. So, public place. But I'm like, nah, can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Yeah, it was really bizarre when I noticed this. And, yeah, I really struggle with trusting people. Friends who I've spoken to about it, they love me. I know they love me, but they just don't know what to do. They just don't know how to respond, which is quite...
Struggle to support you a little bit.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of the time it really is just my psychiatrist that I can talk to, which is awesome to have that. I know a lot of people don't have that system in place, but sometimes I wish I could just talk to a friend and have them understand or know what to say.
So how has this experience impacted your place in this world?
For a long time, I mean, partly because of the assault, partly because of my other mental health problems even before the assault, I did not feel like I belonged anywhere. I felt like I had no friends, when in hindsight I had so many who supported me, loved me, cared for me, but I still felt so alone. I didn't know why I was here, why this had happened to me. But now it's going to sound cheesy as all hell, but I genuinely feel I'm a strong believer in everything happens for a reason, which to many might be like, how can you believe that you were raped 3 times for a reason? And I kind of laugh saying that out loud because it does sound a bit silly, but it has made me so much stronger, and I've been able to help so many people as a result of my experience.
How beautiful.
Yeah, so I genuinely feel that I'm here to raise awareness and educate about sexual assault. I mean, a lot of people hear sexual assault and go, and associate it with rape.
Yeah.
But it is so much more than that.
Oh, it's hugely diverse.
And I really want people to know how diverse it is. Yeah.
So many different forms, and each form, as minute as they might seem to others, can inflict a level of pain on a person, and pain is relative, so
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're all equally as damaging.
Yes, I cannot recommend getting professional help enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really do much to work through it, unfortunately. I just have a nap, I guess. Yeah, if I'm having a flare up in my PTSD, have a nap.
Don't sell yourself short, though, like it's tiring and like quite confronting going and seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Absolutely.
Like if that's something you're religiously doing, then you are, and that's awesome, and that's tough. In saying that, what advice would you offer to someone supporting a person who is suffering from trauma?
So I acknowledge that everyone's experience with sexual assault is completely different and unique, but universally I think it's just so important to educate yourself and to know what to say. I think for me personally, if I'm struggling, the best thing someone can say is not "that sucks, that's shit," but "how can I help?"
Yeah.
And honestly, most of the time I don't have a response to that. I don't know how they can help. But I think just saying that is really reassuring. Reach Out Australia has some really great resources. And even for people who've experienced themselves, Beyond Blue I found really helpful because they have anonymous forums where people post about their stories and experiences, and I think if you have a read of those, it's really helpful for how people help and support others. Education is key.
For me, Freya, thank you so much for coming here today and sitting down and having a cup of tea with a complete stranger, really, and sharing your deep thoughts. I really am super grateful, and I respect you, and I'm so proud of you and everything you've been through and how you've responded to that. I think you're incredible. I'd really like to conclude with, if you were comfortable to do so, if you had any sort of message to yourself. This moment's completely about you. It's not about anyone else. It's just a message to you on reflection of what you've been through or how you've dealt with it.
Yeah, absolutely. To put it simply, I am so fucking proud of myself. I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, you are.
Honestly, nothing can stop me. Nothing can stop me. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I'm bloody proud.
And I can feel it too.
Yeah, and this is scary, but it's so good for me. I'm so stoked that I've been given this opportunity. I've always wanted to get my story out there, and this is just awesome.
If this episode has caused you any distress, Lifeline is a 24-hour crisis support line, or phone 000 if your life is in danger.